What's up? Rorlin here. This week on 3D NerdStop, we're going to print out an air raid siren. Alright guys, here's the air raid siren I'm going to make. As you can see, this is 100% 3D printed. Here's all the parts, or a picture of all the parts, with a lot of little parts to it. So this is what we're going to print up. It's kind of a cool looking little model. And we'll see if it actually works right. There's a lot of pieces to it. So it's going to take us quite a while to print. So we're going to get her started here, and we'll download this model, and then we'll send it over to Cura, and we'll start getting everything printed off. So let's do that. Alright guys, here we are in Cura. Let's open it up, and we're at our air raid siren. And we'll go to the first model, and we'll open it. And as we can see, it turns gray, because it's actually bigger than the build plate. Yep, as you can see here, the back out that's taller than the build plate is. It's actually bigger in every dimension than the build plate is, as far as height goes. You can't turn it or put it diagonally or anything. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to modify this model slightly to make it fit. Okay, well, some of you may be asking how we do that. Well, we have a simple program. We have an application, NetFab Basic, that'll let us modify models. So the first thing we'll do is we'll delete the model from here, and then we'll switch over to NetFab Basic, and we'll open the model up here. As you can see, here she is. Alright. Now, when you open the model up, if you look down here, the first thing you see is a cut section, which is really what I use NetFab Basic for, is if I want to cut a model. You can cut all parts, or you can cut only the selected parts. So if you had multiple parts on the screen at once, you can tell it, oh, I only want to cut the one part that I have selected. So it doesn't matter what we select, we only have one on the screen. So what you do is you can rotate it around until you can see, and then you have these sliders. Alright, if you look at our dimensions here, you have your X, your Y, and your Z. Because you have your X, Y, and Z. And you can see that we need to cut it along our Y-axis, because our Y-axis is too big. So if we grab our Y-axis slider, and you start moving it, as you can see, there's a set of lines running right through here. This is where it's going to cut the model. So if we move this set of lines just right to where we want them, and we can pan around and look at it. Oops, deselected my model there. We can pan around and look at it and see that we have it where we want to, and that looks pretty good. Looks like we can slice it off right about there. 229.4. That should still fit on our build plate. So, yep, that looks good to me. So then all you have to do is execute cut. And then it shows you with a bigger plane exactly where it's cutting. So you can see that's exactly where it's going to cut at. And then you can just say cut. And now we have two separate pieces. Okay, so now what we can do is take this piece, we select a piece, and you go to Part, Export, and you export it as an STL. And then I'm just going to save it right back in the same folder. This calls it Cut To, Save. Select on this part, and go Part, Export Part, Cut 1, Save. So now I have modified this model and made it smaller. So we can close that. I'm not going to save what I did to it there, because now I already have the STL files over here. So we're going to go ahead and import Cut 1 and 2. As you can see, it says it still doesn't fit at the moment, but if we take this piece and we rotate it. Now it fits, and then we can select this piece and move it over just a little bit, and we can actually get them both on the build plate, so we can print this all at once. So we'll give that just a minute here to render, or to slice, I should say. We'll give that just a minute here to slice. So we're going to be using our standard settings on all these models. As you can see here, our standard settings is a 0.2 layer height with a 1.2 shell thickness top and bottom, a fill density of 20%. We're going to do a print speed of 60, a temperature of 210, and a build plate of 50. We're not going to do any support material. So those are our base settings. According to this is going to take 15.5 hours to print, which is 76.69 meters of material, or 229 grams of material. So there we go. We'll save that off to the SD card. There we go. It's now saved off to the SD card. Okay. Now we'll move on to the next model. Next model we'll do is this one here. Sorry, it's 2. This here is the body that all the stuff fits into, all the fans and everything. So I'll let this generate. As you can see here, these spaces here are supposed to be open, but as you can see, there's already support material built into the model. So we don't have to add any support material to this model. Now, you have to know how your printer does on overhangs. The Robo should do just fine on these. But there's the model. There we go. As you can see, this one part right here is going to take 20 hours and 31 minutes. It's going to take 100.2 meters of material, which is 299 grams. So we'll save this off to our SD card. Alright guys, now what we'll do is we'll print off the last body part. The last piece we're going to do in blue, which will be the faceplate. There we go. That's the faceplate loaded up. Give that just a second here to slice. You can see here that's going to take 4 hours and 4 minutes. That's 11.13 meters of material, or 33 grams. So we'll save that off to the SD card. And then we can remove this from the build plate. Okay guys, now let's move on to the internal parts. So we'll start with grabbing gear 1 and 2, and we'll do those together. And we'll let those generate up here real quick. Take them just a second to slice. Alright, there we go. We finished slicing that one. We can say this is going to take 10 hours and 3 minutes. It's 25.98 meters of material. So basically 26 meters. And that's roughly 77 grams worth of material. Okay, so we'd save that off to the SD card, and then we cleared our build plate. Then we can load up gears 3 and 4. I'll let those load up. Those will, again, take just a minute to slice. Alright guys, that one finished slicing. You can see that's going to take 10 hours and 18 minutes. 27.02 meters of material, which is 81 grams. Okay, so we'd save that off to the SD card, and then we'd clear our build plate and load up our next set of models. Our next set of models is going to be the crank handle. So we can just select all 3 of these here and import those. And voila, here's our crank handles. And we'll give that just a second here to slice. Alright guys, we see that has finished slicing, and we can see this one says it's going to take 15 hours, which is 31.72 meters of material, which is 95 grams. So, again, we'd save that off to our SD card. Then when that finishes saving, we'd clear our build plate. Now we have our rotors. Now there are 3 rotors, and you print all 3 of them individually. So we'll start with rotor 1. And again, that'll take just a minute for it to slice. Okay, rotor 1 is finished slicing. You see it says it's going to take 14 hours and 30 minutes at 40.43 meters of material, which is 121 grams of material. So we'd save that off to the SD card and clear our build plate and go to our next rotor. We'll load it up. And we'll give that just a second here to slice. Alright guys, you can see that one just finished slicing. This one says it's going to take 10 hours and 28 minutes, which is 28.58 meters of material, which is 85 grams. Okay, so we'd save that off to the SD card, and then we'll clear that out, and we'll go for our last rotor. And we'll give this one just a second here to slice. Alright, this one's already done slicing. We can see it takes 3 hours and 39 minutes to print. It's 9.78 meters, which is 28 grams of material. Okay, now we'll save this one off to the SD card and clear the build plate. And now we're left with adding the crank handle adapter and all of the screws. So we'll go ahead and add all that to the build plate. These are the last set of models we need. And we let all that load up there. Now the long tall screw here, we need a total of 6 of them, so we'll multiply that by 5. And the shorter screw here, we need a total of 3, so we'll get 2 more of them. Alright, we'll give that just a second to slice. There we go, that's all sliced up. That says it's going to take 5 hours and 6 minutes to print at 9.36 meters of material. That's 28 grams. Alright, and we'd save that off to the SD card. Now, I know I kept saying that I'm saving everything off to the SD card and then clearing the build plate. I do not recommend you actually build your files that way. I just did that to move through them really quickly to show y'all what I did when I built the files. I have found that if you keep saving to the SD and clearing the build plate and saving to the SD and clearing the build plate, it will start corrupting the slicing files. The G-code gets corrupted and it does not print properly. So you're better to create this file here, save it off to the SD, close cure, open a new one, then load the next set of models you want. That's just my recommendation. That's what I found works the best, is you can load whatever you need to on the build plate. But when you save that one off, close it and reopen it for a new one. Okay? So we'll get the printer heater up and get her printing.
Jack it up.
Okay, guys, as you can see, we have our model all printed out. You have to excuse the mess, but we got the model all printed out. Now we do need to do some cleanup and stuff on it. We need to go through here and break out all of these pieces, and they break away real easy, real nicely. This is all the support material that came with the model. There's quite a bit of it. Alright, so as you can see, I got all the material broken away there. As you can see, all the material is broken away. So that looks good, so we'll set that off to the side for a moment. Now, one other piece that did take a little bit of cleanup was this. As you can see, I cleaned up here a little bit. I didn't get into real detail with it right now. I'll come back and clean that up real good later. But for right now, I just went ahead and broke it off a little bit. It should be good enough for us to put it together and test it, because we can always take it apart and clean it up more later. So there is one piece we have to glue together. Other than that, this model doesn't require any glue. Okay, the only piece we need to glue together is the piece we made. Remember how we cut this piece off the top here? Now you don't have to have it if you don't want it. If you don't want to glue this up here, that's fine. You don't have to put this on here. You don't have to put it on, but I want it on there, so I'm going to dig out my Gorilla Glue here real quick. And I'm just going to add like a drop there, a drop there, and maybe a drop there. That should be good enough to do the whole thing, to hold it in place with this stuff. So we'll just take this, set it up here, and then we'll give it 10 to 15 seconds. There we go. That's got it stuck on there. So we got that on there. Get the file out of our way. So we will let that sit and dry for just a minute. Okay. So we got it pretty easy here. This isn't too difficult of a model to assemble. Okay, we'll start with putting the bolt here on the crank. And you don't need any glue to do this. You can just push it in. It fits really tight and snug. Okay, then we have our handle for the crank and the bolt for the crank. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a drop of all-purpose machine oil on here. Just a tiny little bit, not a lot. You don't need much. Kind of smear it around a little bit. This will help lubricate this piece and make it so this spins a little nicer. Now, one of the things that'll get you on this is this is, I believe, what they call a left-handed thread. So it's lefty-tighty, righty-tighty, and a couple of them on here are this way. So you can see a little lubrication on there, makes that move nicely. Okay, and we're going to put lubrication in a couple different places on this model. Okay, so we got that. Okay, so now we can take this, stand it up, and actually what we'll do first is right here, hopefully y'all can see this. See if I can get it to focus for you. Right here, right next to this, there's an edge, right next to the threads. We want to put just a touch of oil right there so it can run right around inside here. Okay? So we're just going to get just about a drop or so on there. Give it a real quick run around with the finger so it smears it out. It's just machine oil. It won't hurt you. Put that on there then. And if I'm not mistaken, this is also a left-handed thread. So it is backward. Nope, this is a right-handed thread. I was wrong. This is a normal thread. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Put that on there. And now we have that on there. My end view. Ooh, I guess I can come this way a little bit, can't I? Sorry about this, guys. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. So now you can see that's on there. Now that's going to use this one, the one that has the knob on the top of it, because this knob that's on the top of here will go into this hole here, on the back here. So of course what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of oil inside here, and just a little bit of oil on top here to lube this piece up. So we just a drop inside here. Let it run around the inside. Just one more drop in there. Ooh, not that much. I kind of got out of hand there a little bit. Let's get a rag here and clean some of that off. Get some of that out of there. We don't need quite that much in there. There we go, that's better. And just a drop around here. So it lubes that up nicely. Okay, so this gear goes on this blue knob here. Like so. So now you can see we have these two together. Okay, and then this one with the hexagon in it here goes on here, like so. And that, what we'll do is we'll put just a drop now on the top one here, which gets this gear. Now I know some of you may notice in this, I don't know how well you can see this, at the bottom of this gear is a little nasty looking and the top's nice and white. That's just happened to be, for some reason, that roll of filament that I used for this white had a weird colored spot in it. I don't know why, I don't know how. It just did, but it's still good filament. It still works well. It printed out just fine. It just had a little discoloration in it. So now we have that. So now we can take this and place this. Oops, before we do that, I want to put a little bit of lube underneath this part here. So when it runs up against the back of this, it's nice and lubricated. Does not take much, just a drop or so. So now when I put this on here, like so, now we can line all that up. Now we can switch around here to the back real quick. And we take the long bolts, and they go here, and you get them in, and this holds the whole thing together. This is really nice. I like models like this that are all 3D printed. The whole thing is 3D printed. You don't need any metal screws or anything like that. I think these are kind of cool. I need to learn how to make these threads and stuff so I can start making some models that you can put together this way. I think it'd be cool to not need to have to get screws and stuff like that. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Well, that handle didn't stick well, but that's okay. We'll glue it back on in a minute. We're having difficulty spinning here. Okay. Whew, noisy. Well, the gears aren't very quiet on this, but that's okay. It's all 3D printed. I didn't expect it to be very quiet. Okay, so here we have the rotors that go inside it, and there are 3 of them. Okay, so you have rotor 1, which goes in the back, and then rotor 2, there's a little knob sticking up on here. And then there are little holes on the back side of this one, so that's how you can put it together. Okay, let's see how it goes together. Now this one you may be able to see. These are both printed from the same roll of material. This one was printed first, then this one. The beginning of the roll was fine. The middle of the roll had some weird coloration to it. I don't know why. It just did. Okay, now you take this one and you put this one in so the blades are face down. So that means the support material pieces are showing on the outside of the blades here. You can see where the support material was. And that goes together like so. And then all of that then drops in here. And then you have this piece, the point on it, that goes through this hole here on the face. and it actually screws into it. Then put a drop of oil on it. And then it goes right here. Okay. And then these 3 screws go here. Sorry guys. Now the only reason the handle broke off is I really didn't give it enough time to dry before I started messing around with it. So I'll fix that in a minute. Alright. So there we go. We can see it's all put together. Now there's a couple things you have to note before you ever use this. Is there's gaps right here. You want to make sure you don't ever stick your fingers in one of these holes while it's spinning or in the front, because it can really hurt you. This thing's going to get spinning pretty good. Now one thing I am going to do is put like a drop of oil there and there. Give it just a little spin. Oops. Get just a little bit of oil in there. For some reason she's stuck. This does not want to spin easy. Well, let me figure it out and I'll get back with you guys. Alright guys, here it is all put together. You can see this is what it looks like completed. Now I'm going to spin it up for you. I do warn you it's a little loud, so I'll let you hear what it sounds like. And it's a little fun to get started sometimes. There you go. As you see, it works. Yeah, I know everybody just ripped their headphones off your head. I warned you, it was loud. You gotta be really careful though when you're spinning it and stuff. You don't stick your finger in here or stick your finger in here, because these things will really hurt you bad. Like I said, it's a little fun to get started. And the secret to it, the secret to get it to work is you can't try and spin it real fast. You have to start spinning really slow and just gradually, very, very slowly increase the speed to it. You can't just make it instantly fast. So here we go, one more time. Watch your ears. She works beautifully, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, have a great day.